YouTube, man, what the hell going on? WWE fans, what the hell going on? It's your boy Racing today. We gonna watch Hounds of Justice, the Shield story full career documentary by Wrestling with Andy. Um, yeah, I'm gonna hop straight into the video. I didn't know Roman Reigns came from NXT. I didn't know that. I just thought he just came straight to WWE. Of course, with training and shit, but I don't remember him. I remember Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins in goddamn NXT, but I definitely don't remember Roman Reigns whatsoever. But anyway, before we hop to the video, hey, shit, I be forgetting. Boy, I'm getting old. Boy, you know, Oh, whew, shit, boy, I'm getting sleepy. 3, 2, 1. YouTube, man, what the hell going on? It's your boy Racing. Today we're gonna watch Hounds of Justice, the Shield story, uh, by Wrestling with Andy. I might learn something new. I knew, Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins in NXT. I didn't know Roman Reigns started off in NXT. I didn't know that. But anyway, before we hop to the video, have a great day, great day. Goddamn, hey, go out to your dreams, whatever they is. You know what I'm saying? Just go out to the motherfuckers. But anyway, let's hop to the video.
This decade or so has been that they don't know how to make new stars anymore. And while there are plenty of examples of this being true, that's not to say that when Vince McMahon sets his mind to it, he isn't able to create something special out of some up-and-coming talent. In fact, nowhere will you find better evidence of that than with The Shield. Yes, in the space of a year and a half, the WWE was able to make 3 bona fide main eventers from scratch, with each becoming world champion before long, and all continuing to dominate the promotions they currently work for. But how did they do it? Well, join us today as we take a deep dive into
That's what I was trying to figure out.
Run from start to finish in Hounds of Justice, The Shield story.
Damn, Dean Ambrose. I think Dean Ambrose will come back.
With CM Punk. He was the one who needed to keep his record-breaking 434-day title run interesting in 2012, and that was why, behind the scenes, the champion had begun pitching to have a crew of hired guns acting as his backup, helping him keep the top prize around his waist. And initially, he would suggest that this trio be made up of indie stars turned WWE developmental champions.
Oh, so CM Punk came up with it?
Jon Moxley and Chris Hero. But while Vince McMahon was happy with the first two, he just didn't see Hero as part of the group. That was why, after thinking about it for a while, the boss would instead choose the young upstart Joe Anoa'i as a replacement. So now,
that shit looks so funny now. Damn, that shit look funny. So Roman Reigns wasn't even supposed to be a part of it, and CM Punk actually came up with it. That is interesting to know. That's interesting.
WWE would begin preparing them all for the main roster by changing up their looks and altering their ring names to Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, and Roman Reigns respectively. After this, they would make their surprise.
I remember them coming in
Survivor Series, interfering in the main event triple threat WWE title match to powerbomb Ryback through the announce table and help Punk pick up the win. Yes, while many NXT and FCW calls prior to this had gone through
I don't remember, and that's crazy. That's what Trinity started from, and her friend. I forgot her friend name, but I didn't know they was there. I thought they came in. Oh, never mind. Let me go. Let me just keep going.
Auspicious introductions to the main roster, often having to work their way up the mid-card or suffer a series of embarrassing early defeats, it was clear that the WWE were intent on pushing their new trio of mercenaries to the moon straight away by having them move right into the main event scene in dominating fashion. And the newcomers would make their intentions clear further when,
they came
right after Survivor Series, they showed up on Raw to identify themselves as The Shield, a collective of outlaws who were there to rally against any injustices they saw, something which would turn out to be true in the weeks that followed as they regularly interrupted other performers such as Randy Orton and Team Hell No, so to lay them out for their perceived sins.
Yep.
Yes, it quickly became clear to the entire roster that whenever the soon-to-be iconic Shield music hit, you'd better get the hell out of Dodge or face a beatdown at their hands.
They were beating everybody's ass.
Justice would further add to this feeling that they were outside invaders by never appearing from the backstage area where the rest of the performers were, instead only coming out through the crowd, decked out in riot gear and cutting promos that were filmed on handheld camcorders from somewhere deep inside the bowels of the building. It all felt a little bit NWO, in fact, and that only helped to get them even more over with fans who instantly took to all three men as stars. It also helped that each of them had a very distinct personality and role within the group too, as Ambrose would play the unhinged lunatic Fringe, the early de facto leader of the group.
He still play that shit. He still play that part. He still. So what was the? I'm just learning. I'm learning shit as I go too. So what I was finna say. So they didn't show up with CM Punk when he fought. Who was he facing? Like John Cena or somebody? I thought they showed up then, but they took out Ryback. Why did they take out Ryback? Fuck, that don't even make sense. But
well, Rollins would act as the architect of the group, the brains behind the operation, and Reigns would pick up the role of the big dog, the silent heavy who got things done. But for his
so Roman Reigns was like goddamn Solo.
Everyone knew that the true test would be what happened when they were put into the ring for a match. Luckily then, both Rollins and Ambrose were experienced indie performers who knew how to carry a match, and with Reigns still being a rookie at this point, they were able to work around his limitations and make him look like a star whenever he did get tagged in for the power spot at the end.
That's what I'm saying. I really don't remember Roman Reigns whatsoever. So he didn't have. Let me get my damn meal.
They would run riot over during those early days as, well, all three men had now been called up full time. Rollins remained the NXT champion. So with that in mind, then,
I remember him the
he
NXT
returned to the
champion.
Black and Yellow brand to defend this on a number of occasions, eventually dropping it to Big E Langston on the January 9th, 2013 episode of the show, albeit not before the Shield had managed to make their presence felt. Back on the main roster, though, the question of their alignment with CM Punk still hung in the air, with this being something that the group had always denied was a thing. It didn't make it easy for people to believe this, though, when they would routinely interfere in Punk's matches throughout January, helping him to continue on as champion come the end.
So that's how CM Punk got on them days. This must have been the time I was on and off in wrestling. Because I don't remember them. I had to be on and off. It had to be, like 2011, 12? CM Punk left in, 13? So this had to be around. No, he left in 14.
Hell,
13.
they would even try and take out The Rock during his title match against the champ at that month's Royal Rumble, laying waste to the People's Champion there, all before Vince McMahon, who had by then figured out what was going on, restarted the bout and allowed the part-timer to finally end the reign of the voice of the voiceless.
So The Rock ended The Rock ended his shit a part-time. Why they be letting part-times goddamn come in that hole and take over shit? Well, Roman Reigns. Is Roman Reigns full-time or part-time? What the fuck is he? What the fuck is Roman Reigns? He full-time working part-time. He making full-time money work. That ain't got nothing to do with it. But see, The Rock, that shit was crazy. I didn't know The Rock goddamn beat CM Punk, which is crazy.
The following night on Raw, it would be revealed that Punk's manager Paul Heyman had indeed been paying the Shield to act as his hired guns the whole time, with this tying up the loose end of that story and allowing the group to disassociate themselves from the now former champion.
I used to love how they come through the crowd.
But it wasn't as if they needed that association anymore, as by then, the Hounds of Justice were already firmly established as one of the top new acts in the company, with them continuing their win streak from there as they beat everyone they came up against in a series of six-man tag team matches in the months that followed. And among these names was the top star in the company himself, John Cena, who the Shield believed had carried out a decade of injustice at that point by hogging on to his main event position for so long. Eventually then, this would lead to a six-man tag at February 17th's Elimination Chamber.
Ryback, Sheamus, and John Cena.
Ryback and Sheamus.
How in the fuck they get this goddamn shit right here? How did that even come up? That don't even seem right.
In yet another winning effort, with them proving here that when they were working as a unit, even Big Match John wasn't enough to take them down. After that, they would further add to their growing reputation by beating Randy Orton, Sheamus, and The Big Show at WrestleMania 29. All this before interrupting The Undertaker the next night on Raw with the intention of taking him out too. And that led to a six-man pitting the Dead Man, his brother Kane, and Daniel Bryan on the April 22nd episode of Raw, which, unsurprisingly, the Shield would win as well. Not happy with this, though, The Undertaker would compete in a rare TV singles match just 4 days later on SmackDown, when he took on Dean Ambrose one-on-one. And while the lunatic Fringe would lose this one, it still represented a huge honor for him and a huge show of confidence in the Shield's ability to be a continued main event force going forward.
I bet it did.
So with that said, the next...
And then I think they hurt Undertaker when they gave him a power bomb. Some shit. He said they put, I don't know, it was something they did. But yeah, Undertaker wrestling on SmackDown is fucking rare. So I remember they did fight Sheamus, Randy on the Big Show. I did remember that, but I'm still stuck on Roman Reigns being in NXT. I'm still stuck on that shit because how in the hell he get from here to here? Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose promos was they was decent, but Roman Reigns shit was trash. So I was trying to see how they get where did he go from there? I guess since he with the Shield, they were like, hey, he'll catch on. I guess
steps seemed obvious. They had to win some gold. And this would end up happening at May 19th's Extreme Rules, as it was there that Ambrose would defeat Kofi Kingston to win the United States title. All well, elsewhere, Rollins and Reigns were defeating Team Hell No to become the WWE Tag Team Champions. Soon after that, and the Hounds of Justice would begin to align themselves with Triple H and his Authority stable when they started helping Randy Orton out during his WWE title feud with Daniel Bryan. All while simultaneously laying waste to anyone who dares speak
this
out
was when
against
they were with the Authority? Yeah.
And with all this new power behind them then, the Shield only grew stronger as they would from there each successfully defend their titles at September 15th's Night of Champions, with Ambrose defeating Dolph Ziggler here, while elsewhere on the card, Rollins and Reigns were making quick work of the primetime players. That said, the first hints of cracks in their armor would begin to show themselves around this time.
Look at Cody
It
Rhodes.
was then that the tag champs got into a feud with the Rhodes brothers, a feud that would eventually see them lose their titles to the babyfaces on the October 14th episode of Raw.
Damn, I missed that.
And they would suffer a number of losses after that too, with it starting to look now like maybe they weren't as invincible as they once appeared. Sure, Dean Ambrose was still the US champion, but he defended that so infrequently that it had become a bit of a meme by that point. Still, regardless of this, he would begin boasting of being the only member of the group who held a title then, something which started to frustrate his teammates more and more as the weeks went on.
I bet it did? Shit.
And these growing issues would reach the lowest point at December 15th's Tables, Ladders, and Chairs pay-per-view, where at the same event where they had
3-on-1 handicap. They must ran out ideas. They must ran out. See you, Miami. They must ran out of fucking ideas on this shit.
In such a dominating in-ring debut the year prior, they now found themselves losing to CM Punk in a 3-on-1.
In a 3-on-1? How the hell you do that?
Accidentally hit Ambrose with a spear towards the end of the bout. After this then, many fans speculated the end was coming and, as it would soon be revealed by the group at a later date, this had been the original plan, with management believing that the faction had run its course, as from there they hoped to split them up and begin Roman Reigns' push to the position of the new face of the company. Three people who weren't happy with this, however, were Reigns, Rollins, and Ambrose themselves, as, feeling there was still a lot of juice left in the gimmick, they collectively lobbied to Vince McMahon to keep the group together for the time being, arguing that by splitting them up while they still had so much to give, the company was leaving a lot of money on the table. And thankfully, listening to this, the boss would decide to cancel the planned breakup for the
Was that real, or like was that just a word?
Hounds of Justice to work through their issues on screen.
Okay, that
and
was
come out of the
just a
other
word.
end even stronger, as now it was Rollins who took on the de facto leadership role within the group for a while. So now on the same page once more, the trio would next set their sights on having a dream match with the other big faction who had been making a name for
Now
themselves.
that's a goddamn
in
match.
WWE over
I
the
wonder why
past year, the Wyatt.
I wonder why WWE never had a trios champion, just for the time being. It could, like, for this like shit like this, they could have had a trios champion. I think people would have been invested in it because they had a bunch of trios back then. So I would have been invested in it.
Yes, it was about that every fan had been waiting to see, and so, when the Shield's music hit at February 23rd, 2014's Elimination Chamber to signal the match was up next, the roof blew off the place as everyone prepared themselves for what was about to happen. And despite ultimately losing the bout on that night, the crowd reaction only served to further emphasize how over the Shield were, and how right WWE had got it with them from day one. Yes, as it turned out, the company could still make new stars, and all they had to do in order to achieve this was have them look and act like stars by winning almost all their matches and appear dominating during in-ring segments.
Exactly.
Of course, around this time, it did start to become apparent to some fans that perhaps the reason why the Shield had been protected so much was that WWE had huge plans for Roman Reigns going forward. And this would become even clearer when, after the group abandoned the Authority and turned babyface in March of that year, the Big Dog would begin to take more of a leadership role within the group, frequently acting as the mouthpiece then in a change from his prior stoic character portrayal. And with him at the helm then, this babyface run would see the Hounds of Justice take on the New Age Outlaws in Kane at WrestleMania 30, with them once again making quick work of their opponents here as they defeated them in just 2 minutes and 56 seconds. After that, however,
who came up with that shit?
Formidable set of challengers when Triple H, Batista, and Randy Orton reformed Evolution, with the two sides coming to blows at both May's Extreme Rules and June's Payback pay-per-views in 2 absolutely stellar matches, both of which the babyfaces would win. So it seemed like the sky was the limit for what they could achieve going forward as fan favorites then. That was why it came as such a surprise when, on the June 2nd episode of Raw,
Seth Rollins
would betray his brothers when he laid them both out with a steel chair, realigning himself with the Authority as a heel in the process, as his 2 now former partners were left to pick up the pieces. And while Ambrose and Reigns would remain aligned afterwards, this would mark the end of the Shield as both men would largely go off on their own paths in the months that followed, with the Lunatic Fringe seeking revenge against Rollins, while elsewhere, Reigns entered into a feud with Randy Orton. But of course, the faction had already done its job by then in creating 3 main event superstars, with Rollins ultimately winning the WWE title at the following year's WrestleMania.
He did win.
He wouldn't be the only one to achieve this either, as at November 2015 Survivor Series, after the Architect had been forced to vacate this title due to injury, his former Shield brothers would meet in the finals of a one-night tournament to determine the new WWE champion, with Reigns ultimately coming out the victor in the end.
I remember
as he
that.
Started his own run at the top. 7 months after that, and Ambrose
was that the Big Dog shit? Oh, I don't remember that whatsoever. I don't remember that. Damn, they got started early. They won the championship early.
Finally his run as the champ too, when he cashed in his Money in the Bank contract at that year's titular show to complete the set. And this night, as it happened, would be even more special, as it would be the very one where all 3 Shield members held the belt within 10 minutes of each other after Reigns had walked in as the champion, only to lose to Rollins, who then immediately lost to the Lunatic Fringe after his impromptu cash-in at the close of the show. Following this, we would get the triple threat match between the trio at July 24th, 2016's Battleground pay-per-view where, after a hard-fought battle, Ambrose would come out on top. And while many
I was finna say Roman Reigns
return bout should have been a WrestleMania main event, this would mark the only time to date that all 3 men faced off on the main roster. Still, even if each of them were now in the midst of thriving singles runs, given how popular and successful the stable had been, fans would constantly ask WWE about the possibility of a Shield reunion. And come the summer of 2017, they would finally get what they wanted, because it was at this point that Rollins, who had since turned babyface once more, began trying to mend fences with Ambrose. And despite initially being hesitant to trust him again, eventually the Lunatic Fringe would forgive his brother, with this leading to the 2 teaming up once more to take on The Bar at that August SummerSlam, with them not only
so what the hell Roman Reigns was,
but also winning the Raw Tag Team titles from them. Meanwhile, as this was going on, Roman Reigns was embroiled in a heated feud with The Miz.
You know what's crazy? Bo Dad look like Rhino. Bo Dad look like fucking Rhino. Can I go back to that? Bo Dad, he like fucking Rhino. If y'all know who Rhino is, he like Rhino.
Reigns was embroiled in a heated feud with The Miz. More importantly than that, though, he was going through one of the worst instances of audience backlash in memory as, despite WWE having spent the last 3 years trying to push him as the top babyface in the company, the Big Dog had been wildly rejected at every turn. And as a result,
they hated that man.
Out of every building he appeared
hated that man.
So when The Miz aligned himself with The Bar to help him take down Reigns, it felt like the perfect time for the struggling star to bring his old friends back into the fold too, with this serving the dual purpose of helping him to even the odds, while also, from a management perspective,
they hated his wrestling, they hated his promo skills, they hated everything about that man. And what's so crazy, The Rock came back just to try to help him. I'm quite sure you're going to bring that up. The Rock came back kind of help him. They booed the shit out of him. They did not like him whatsoever. They kept saying for years, Roman Reigns needed to turn heel. He needed to turn because his shit was ass. Sucker and succotash.
helping him to get over with the fans again. That was how, on the October 9th, 2017 episode of Raw, the Big Dog would come out to confront The Miz in the bar, with him from there quickly introducing the rest of the Shield as his backup and confirming the reunion. Sadly though, like with all Shield reunions after this, a curse would seemingly befall the trio, as before they could get in the ring to take on the 5-man unit of The Miz, The Bar, Braun Strowman, and Kane at October 22nd's Tables, Ladders, and Chairs, Reigns would catch the mumps, with this forcing the company to pull him from the match at the last minute and replace him with Kurt Angle instead.
That's what Kurt Angle came.
In a WWE ring again for the first time for over a decade was certainly a nice treat for fans. It wasn't what they really wanted that night. Now, they would have to wait until November's Survivor Series for that, as it was then that the Shield would finally come together to take on and defeat the New Day. Still, by then, much of the spark of the reunion...
So that's where Kurt Angle came from. I was wondering, like... I don't remember, like, that episode, but I remember them saying Kurt Angle had to be there. I always wonder why, but... Like, why they just didn't make it a 2-on-3? Like, they could have took Roman Reigns out, or like, hey, they took Roman Reigns out early, we're going to make this 2-on-3, and had them lose, and have somebody come out there and run some shit. But replacing him with Kurt Angle is crazy.
And to make matters worse, a month later, Dean Ambrose would suffer a tricep injury that put him out of action for the foreseeable future, with this marking a limp end to things for the time being. Yes, while Reigns and Rollins would remain semi-aligned going forward, they never referred to themselves as the Shield, and they rarely actually teamed up. In fact, it wouldn't be until Ambrose came back in August of 2018 that things would start up once again, as it was then that, with the Architect now the Intercontinental Champion and the Big Dog the Universal Champion, the three Blood Brothers decided to pool their resources once more, with this ultimately helping Reigns to fend off the attempts of Braun Strowman to take his belt away from him in the weeks that followed.
He fucking sucked then.
After that, they would hit the ring as a team again when they took on the trio of Strowman, Dolph Ziggler, and Drew McIntyre at the Australian Super Showdown show on October 6th. That said, this marked the end of the reunion again as, tragically, the Big Dog would come out on the October 22nd episode of Raw to announce that he was battling leukemia, and as such, would be taking an indefinite period of time away from the ring so as to try and beat the illness. While he was gone then, the company would add a new wrinkle to the story by having Ambrose turn heel on Rollins, with this allegedly only being saved from being one of the most tasteless angles in WWE history after the Lunatic Fringe refused to use a line about Roman's cancer to get heel heat, with him claiming that if he'd said it, it would have cost the company sponsors. Yes, while fans had been begging for a version of the Ambrose on the...
This ain't the first time they did that shit when, I think like Eddie Guerrero, they said Eddie Guerrero dead or some shit. I forgot who said it. Randy Orton said Rey Mysterio. I can't remember who said it. But they ain't done some crazy shit, but they wanted to use real life situation wrestling. Some situations you just can't use, but that shit's fucked up. I'm glad he didn't see it. They damn sure would have lost sponsors.
The main roster.
He don't give a damn about sponsors. They'll get another one.
It would reinvigorate his stale character that had become little more than a wacky uncle by then. Stories like this should have been an early cause for concern.
They had that man on the gas mask, all type of shit.
Merited in the weeks that followed, in fact, as WWE would spectacularly botch the heel turn by having the former CZW Madman take part in silly comedy skits that saw him come out to the ring in a gas mask.
I think they were trying to get rid of him in the end. Like, I think his contract was coming up to an end or something. They were trying to either get rid of him or they were trying to do something to him. It was crazy. Like, that man every week he was coming out spraying hot dogs on people and shit. Ketchup and shit. Like, what the fuck are they doing with this man?
Telling the audience that they smelled. And this, it seems, was the final straw for Ambrose, as when his contract came due in January of 2019, he neglected to sign a new one, arguing that he was tired of the company's terrible creative direction and that he had not been happy in his role for some time. So, realizing the end was near, WWE decided to have one final Shield farewell reunion when Reigns returned to the ring cancer-free soon after this, with the three coming together once more on the March 4th, 2019 episode of Raw, and from there beating the team of Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, and Baron Corbin at Fastlane later that month.
Barry
After
Corbin
that,
still in
the
NXT?
company would promote
Think
the
he is.
special WWE Network event, The Shield, the final chapter on April 21st, where, in the main event that night, the Hounds of Justice would defeat McIntyre, Lashley, and Corbin one more time in what ended up being Ambrose's last match with the company.
Damn.
And given how much success he's now having reverting back to his old Jon Moxley gimmick in AEW, it seems unlikely that we'll ever see the Shield together again at this point.
You won't.
That said,
You probably
when
will.
looking back at how cursed the reunions have always appeared to be, maybe this isn't a bad thing, and maybe instead it's better to remember things as they were that first time when, over an 18-month period, 3 relative unknowns managed to turn themselves into the top stars in the industry. And that star power remains to this day too, with Moxley on top in AEW, Reigns having a career-high run on SmackDown, and Rollins acting as one of Raw's primary heels. It seems like,
All
together
three
or
of them
not,
still doing
the
good.
Shield will continue to run wrestling for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, all 3 of them doing good right now. I haven't watched AEW in a while, so. John Mox still over there, still wrecking shit. I don't know if you heard. I don't know. I'm quite sure he's still doing good. Of course, Seth Rollins the champion and Roman Reigns is the champion. So everybody champion. Everybody doing good in their own respective ways and shit. But some of the, I didn't know, goddamn. What the fuck I was gonna say? Goddamn it, I lost my train of thought. I lost it. They had that many reunions. I didn't know they had that many. But yeah, Roman Reigns he probably gonna stay a heel. Cause him in the babyface, I don't see it. He probably could. He probably could be babyface. But I think him working as a heel is probably the best thing for him. He needs to stay a heel. I think he lose his title. Really we gonna see what he gonna do. Is he gonna stay a heel? Like if he lose the whole bloodline thing, like what is he gonna do? But I feel like Solo was kind of like Roman Reigns back then. They said in NXT Solo used to actually talk and do all that shit, but I only heard that man talk one time, so that shit was crazy. But yeah, the Shield was up there. When they came in, I didn't know they came. That's what I was finna say. I didn't know they came. CM Punk wanted them to help him. He needed people to bag him up. So I didn't know that part. I must start watching or some shit. But anyway, hey, like the video, comment, subscribe, share. Peace.